Welcome to Living Vividly, the podcast where health, wellness, and curiosity collide. I'm Jackie, the founder of Vivid Health and Wellness, your guide on this journey to living your happiest and healthiest life.
My co-host Daphne, the unconventional dietitian, is always ready to shake things up and bring a fresh perspective to your wellness journey. And we can't forget Dustin, our producer, who keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Together, we'll chat with health and wellness experts along with everyday people who have inspiring stories and practical insights to share. If you're ready to nourish your body, move better, and discover simple ways to thrive, you're in the right place. And hey, if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to leave us a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Living Vividly. We're joined today by Paul Scelfo with Second Harvest Food Bank. Perfect timing.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me. We appreciate it.
It's kind of different than what we normally talk about, health and wellness, but I think that food security and, all the things happening in our world today, it's a very warranted conversation.
Definitely. Also, I think of, and this is something that I have to fix in my brain, Second Harvest as being more critical around the holiday stuff for Thanksgiving and whenever everybody wants to get together. But I know that there's a need year round. It's not just right now.
You're a perfect spokesman for Second Harvest. Absolutely. There's a need to food security year round. Before we get in, obviously, we want to talk about Second Harvest, but in our community in Acadiana, there are determinants of health. People call them social determinants of health. And some of those things are things like good housing, good transportation, health care, and food security. So people who are struggling every day just to make ends meet really have trouble balancing those social determinants of health. Now, the way I look at it is the way we create a wellness in our community and a healthy, thriving community is make sure that everyone, or as many people as we can, have solid social determinants of health. Right. It's a basic need that everyone has that some of these nonprofits are a part of. When you talk about that, when you talk about food insecurity, there are people out there every day who are making decisions. Do I pay my rent or pay my utilities, or do I buy tires for my car so I can continue to go to work? Do I buy tires for my car, or do I buy my medicine this month? Mm-hmm. Do I pay for food, or do I pay for the utility bill? So what Second Harvest does is we create a bridge for that food security. So if somebody's, I'm sorry.
By food security, I just want to kind of define that. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but food security is just making sure that you have not just food, but nutritious food in your pantry or your refrigerator or your freezer so that you can nourish yourself.
Great question. Absolute. When we talk about food security, the way we define an insecure area is a couple of ways. One is by geographical location. That's called a food desert. Mm-hmm. And there are guidelines to that.
Which means that they don't have access to, the grocery stores are not in that food desert. They don't really have access
Absolutely. To food. When you're dealing with food insecurity, remember those social determinants of health is transportation. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens if you don't have dependable transportation to drive 3 miles to the nearest grocery store? And so you're sitting there, and that's one of those social determinants of health that affect food insecurity. Mm-hmm. So the next way we define food insecurity is over a course of 1 year, if you are having trouble financially or location or whatever reason to provide 170 of your meals over the course of the year, you are considered food insecure. You are having trouble providing nutritious, healthy food for yourself or your family. And so that's where Second Harvest comes in. We work right now, we're over 23 parishes. We work with over 500 partners to create pantries for neighborhoods. We provide the food, and all that does is that pantry opens up in that neighborhood and say, okay, if you need assistance with food security, you can go to this pantry and you can have food added to your pantries at home. And it really kind of bridges the gap. There's a misconception that Second Harvest will provide food, 100% of your food. It does not do that. Yeah. It provides you with a bridge. It provides you with an opportunity to maybe, instead of spending $10, you're going to spend $8 on food and capture that other money to be able to use towards those social determinants of health that we talked about. So that's how we define food insecurity. And I really believe it's a part of community health and community well-being because it all just works together.
It's terrifying whenever you don't know how you're going to feed your family. I grew up with food insecurity. I was a food stamp kid, and I didn't really understand, obviously, whenever I was a kid, that that's what was happening. But then I had about a year of my life as an adult where I was pregnant, my partner died, and I had no income, and I literally had no idea how I was going to eat. And for some reason, I wasn't approved for food stamps, which is a whole other conversation. But one of my grandmother's friends had I don't know what it's called, but the elderly little box. Once a month, she would come by with some of her extra food and help me get through some hard months. And it's such a test of your sanity, especially whenever you have dependents. Like, how am I going to do this? You know,
It's like the most basic need.
Yeah.
That unless you're
to stay alive.
to stay alive, and unless you're in that situation, it's something that you would not think about. You know, we don't think if you have food on your table, even if it's not exactly what you would want, but if you have food on your table, we tend to not put much mental energy towards understanding there are people that potentially could be in your same neighborhood that just don't have food.
And so many people are one missed paycheck away or one life crisis away. And I think the numbers are pretty staggering in Acadiana, how many people are food insecure.
When you talk about Acadiana, 1 in 6 people are considered food insecure. They're struggling with what you struggled with. 1 in 6. Everybody has a story. And I could tell you the best story I have for what food insecurity does to a community. I was at a local elementary school and we were shooting. We do this program every summer called summer feeding programs, where once school's let out, we provide hot meals to kids who no longer get those meals from those schools. So we were doing a little promo about a summer feeding program that we were doing, and we had the principal there. We had some of our sponsors there who were going to help donate to make that program work. And we had some of our staff there, and we were just doing this little promo. And it was right after lunch. It was about 11 o'clock or so, but it was after lunch. Those kids had already eaten, and we were walking into the cafeteria. And it was a Friday. And this little boy he had to be a kindergartner. And he's tugging on the principal's skirt, and he goes, can I get another meal? And the principal says, yes, we'll take care of you. We'll get you another meal. And she comes up to me, and he wasn't hungry at the time because he had just eaten. He was worried about that weekend because he did not know if his family was going to have enough food to serve him until Monday when he got back to school. A kindergartner worried about food insecurity. And I'll never forget that little boy's face because how can you ask a child at that age, you need to worry about how you're going to eat? Anyway,
Yeah.
Creating that in this community and working to prevent that and impact against that takes a collaborative effort. It's why we do things like this. And it's why we work with other organizations, because that shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't. And we can stop it.
You said 1 in 6 and 1 in 5, but 1 in 6 adults are food insecure and 1 in 5
Yes.
children. What did those numbers look like? Like how many people in Acadiana?
When you look at our area, and I'm going to go through a 12 parish area. Well, first of all, a 23 parish area that we cover. Now we cover from Mississippi all the way to Texas, kind of along that I-10 corridor.
Okay.
There are 436,000 people who are considered food insecure in that area. 40% of them are in this 12 parish area we call Acadiana in Southwest Louisiana. So when you look at 430,000 you're looking at about, what is that, 210,000 people in our area. These are neighbors that you see every day. You just don't know it. Those people are in this area right now that we're trying to serve.
One of the reasons why I really am impressed with Second Harvest, and this is probably jumping ahead too much, but I saw some numbers like $1 feeds 3 people. And some of the just y'all's ability to stretch money and feed all these people. And also the fact that 94% of the money that comes in actually goes to these programs. So many nonprofits. I mean, I've been on boards in the nonprofit world where like 94% of the income goes to paying for administrative. It's the exact opposite with you guys. Like for some, I don't know how you do it, but only 3% of your money goes towards administration costs. Why do you think that is?
We're going to talk about this, I think, as this program goes on. But what Second Harvest does is we partner with people. So we do a very aggressive retail partnership where we're working with local grocery stores. So all of the major chains, the local grocery stores, we work with to capture food in those grocery stores. Instead of that food being discarded or determined it's not good enough for resale, but it's still good food, we'll capture that food. We send trucks out, put it on our truck and bring it back, and we're able to distribute that. To give you an idea, about 40% of the food that we distribute is from that retail donation that we go out and capture. It's about 40% of our total allotment of food. In this area, we're going to do 12 million pounds of food. So it's 40% of that. That's number one. That doesn't take us taking $1 and going buy that food. So the local grocery stores that we deal with every day, Albertsons, Rouse's, there's Kroger's and some of the other parishes, Walmart's, Costco, Sam's. We have relationships with those folks, and we'll sit there and kudos to them because they take the time to identify that food, hold that food, let us know about the food, and then actually help us load the food so that we can capture it safely and then distribute that into the community. So the grocery stores are great partnerships we have with those grocery stores where they say, wait a minute, we can do something in this time of need and we can help. That's a partnership that we create. The other thing that we work on is USDA. The government identifies food across this nation that we're either growing or processing, but there's no way to distribute it. And it just sits there. The USDA that department can capture that food. Then they distribute it to food banks. The people right now that have that contract is an organization called Feeding America. And Feeding America has 210 food bank affiliates. We are one of those affiliates we are the only affiliate in Southwest Louisiana. So that USDA product comes here. About 23% of our total food distribution is from that product. And then that senior commodities program is called CSFP. It's a senior supplemental commodity program for a senior struggling to combat food insecurity. And that makes up an additional 22%. And the remaining is what we'll purchase. We have to make sure not only we're having food, but the right food. So if we don't have a protein in our warehouse, you might have to go out and purchase proteins to make sure we have that so we can offer a well-balanced assortment. The rest of our food supply is purchased, and that's where that $1 equals so many meals that you were talking about. It fluctuates, depending on the prices and things like that. But yeah, at times I think the highest I've seen it was $1 equaled 4 meals. Last year it was $1 equals 3 meals. I'm not sure where it's at now, but yeah, that fluctuation is, or that process that you're talking about is how we capture that ratio. What I worry about are seniors. If you think about this, who have a fixed income, and that's all they have. And all of a sudden, their food goes up 20%. And if they're struggling, what does that mean? That has to be scary. People retire, they think they have their money that they have, but that's going to last them forever. And all of a sudden prices just start going up, pricing them out of A's. Have y'all heard? We have a program out there called Mobile Market. And a part of that food desert that we talked about earlier is what we'll do is we'll take a truck, put everything on that truck that you need to create a meal, and we'll take that truck and drive it into neighborhoods that are identified as food desert areas. And then we'll open it up and you can purchase that at reduced prices. Like for every dollar we actually go out and purchase that food for, we sell it for 50 cents. I was at one of the locations and this elderly gentleman we give people wagons so they can put their groceries in and take it either to their car or to their neighborhood. And we just ask that they bring it back. Well, one day I was walking with this elderly gentleman so that he could bring his groceries to his house. And I was just going to walk the cart back. And I was looking in his cart and he had 6 gallons of milk. And I said, why so much milk? And he said, and he looked at me with those eyes that you just did to me. And he goes, do you know the last time I've been able to have milk in my house? And so he had purchased this extra milk at this reduced price because the price of groceries skyrocketed so much on him that he had to take milk out of his diet. And he said, I love milk. And I mean, that's geez, man. Those kind of decisions that you're making for people is helping people stay in their homes when you're a senior struggling. And I just think it's I'm grateful to have the opportunity to help people like that, to see the most vulnerable, but to see how much we're able to help and we're able to work as a community. And I'm not just talking about food insecurity.
Tell us about how what other nonprofits are y'all affiliated with that are working together to support the community?
Anyone. You would be surprised at the nonprofits who will step up for us and help because, again, working with those social determinants of health, they understand as you're helping someone with food on their table, you might be giving them the opportunity to fix their car so that transportation is not an issue, or pay for medicine so that healthcare is not an issue. So if you think of nonprofits who are involved in providing healthcare, providing health awareness, those kind of nonprofits will also come say, hey, we want to help Second Harvest. A great example I can give you for that is I'm very excited about this. We are a part of providing our first nonprofit grocery store for Acadiana. A multitude of nonprofits who are saying, wait a minute, we can help with this. This is going to be good.
And I've heard I'm on the board for the farmers market. And so y'all are getting some of the farmers involved, local farmers involved in supplying food for
Absolutely.
the grocery store.
Absolutely. Actually, we were in a meeting last night talking about what we were going to do to help local farmers use it kind of as a supplemental farmers market for them. And so I look forward to see how that works out. But we started off with, how are we going to operate a nonprofit grocery store? They're not successful. Right. If you look at the models created across the entire United States, it's not really one that's successful. You can build it, you can sustain it. And we looked at one in one location, and it had been taken over by a retired CEO of a major grocery store, and he was going to create the matrix to make this nonprofit grocery store successful. And when they lost their funding from the city, they had to close it down. So it's like, how do we take this task on as an organization? And it's simple. You don't do it alone. United Way says, wait a minute, we're going to come to the table. We're going to help with this. Other organizations, the city, say, wait a minute, this is a great opportunity. We're going to come to the table. Louisiana Blue Cross Blue Shield. He said, wait a minute, we have a foundation, Louisiana Blue. We can come help you come to this table and make this nonprofit grocery store work. Many, many more. Lafayette Development. I mean, there's so many other nonprofits that are helping, and being able to say, wait a minute, I can do this, or I can do this in this nonprofit grocery store. And now you have a community really coming together and saying, we're going to create a nonprofit grocery store that serves people in need in a food desert area. And so we're really excited to see what that looks like.
Where is that in the process of development? I mean, I've been hearing about it for a little while. Do you have a location? Is it going to be, do we have like an opening date? Is it that far along, or it's still in the planning phase?
We really think it's going to be in the first quarter of 2026.
Okay. Yeah.
We're in construction right now. So we've started some construction, and now we're finalizing the interior looks of the facility. And again, we're working with the community. The community is actually going to have input into what we're actually serving and what the inside of that facility looks like. So we're in that process right now. It's a planning process. It's identifying services and what we'll be able to offer people out of there. So not only will it be a nonprofit grocery store, but we'll have an education component to it. So one of the biggest challenges we have, and you know this at a farmer's market, is people passing up the farmer's market and they're getting fast food. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to have a nutrition program there where we'll teach people, you can grab these items from a nonprofit. This is how you can prepare them in a simple, easy fashion. And it's
a lot of people don't know. They don't purchase things because, especially like from the farmer's market, things are very seasonal, so they don't purchase something because they don't know what to do with it. Bok choy, people don't know what to do with that, or turnips or beets. Those are all seasonal things right now that even if you had the opportunity to have it in your house, you wouldn't know what to do with it. And for the greens, for all of that stuff. So that's something that is forever an issue. That's always a challenge because we're not, people are losing the skill of being able to cook, or the desire to cook, honestly, both. So having the educational component so that you have these things available, and then this is what you actually do with them to provide something for your family, is a really important piece of that puzzle that can't be forgotten.
Absolutely. And a large portion of the nonprofit grocery store will be a classroom set up with a stove to be able to take product from the nonprofit grocery store and show people how to prepare it, just like what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. How do you capture those greens, and how do you make sure that that's being put on your table in a nutritious, healthy way? If somebody's really in a situation where they don't even have the money to actually go into the nonprofit grocery store, we're going to have a food pantry there. If somebody just comes in and says, like, I can't even afford the groceries here, we'll have a pantry there for them where they'll go in and select items and they won't have to pay for nothing. And I did want to say something. I'm going to kind of go back, but nonprofit grocery store doesn't necessarily mean it's free. It just means that we're not making a profit at it. So we're going to try and reduce the cost as much as possible to make sure that we don't have to we won't make a profit at it, but we want to sustain the business at that grocery store. And we're working with other nonprofits who said, we can help in housing. Mm-hmm. We can help in healthcare. So we'll give them facility space to be able to offer those opportunities and really do a truly wraparound service for those nonprofit or for those guests of that nonprofit grocery store. Anybody will be able to shop there. We're working with some organizations who are going to purchase coupons or vouchers, and we'll give those out based on need, where they can come in and they'll have, there's some programs out there called food pharmacy where you use food as medicine. So we'll have doctors and healthcare facilities providing vouchers and coupons for people to come in and purchase certain food to help them in their chronic diseases.
So how does Second Harvest work with the SNAP program, the federal SNAP program?
First of all, if you look at for every pound that Second Harvest distributes in food into the community, SNAP distributes 9 pounds.
Wow.
SNAP is a federal program where you go in and you have to apply. It's based on income base. And once you apply, they award you a card where every month they put money on the card for you to supplement your food purchases for that particular month. From our standpoint, we work with partners to provide meals and to provide pounds of food so that that food can be distributed through pantries. So it's a little bit different. The two organizations aren't related. However, what we are is a register of SNAP. We register people to we do those applications for SNAP.
So y'all are serving a very similar population.
It's fair to say yes, absolutely. That's 100%.
So with the government shutdown and the impact that that's made on the SNAP program, what do y'all know about how that's going to affect you as Second Harvest?
Well, to be honest with you, we're in contingency planning right now. What does this look like? What does this look like short term? We know we've had increases of request and demand of our pantries in the community. So what does that look like for Second Harvest? In other words, how are we getting them more food? So that's what we're working on now in that contingency. How bad will it get and how much more need is out there? We're working on, and how we will respond to that. We're working on a continued effort. What we can tell you is that we're very mindful that every day, with or without this crisis right now, every day we serve people, and we're going to continue to do that. So if you depended on those commodities for seniors, we're going to continue to distribute those boxes, no matter what. I can't say no matter what, but we'll continue to distribute those boxes to the best of our ability. That's not being taken away. The government shutdown and what that looks like for us, again, it's all on contingency. Right now, because a lot of our food was pre-ordered, it's in the cycle already. That is going to continue to come. But if this sustains itself, it creates an opportunity where how are we going to get that food now?
Y'all had already lost a lot of funding federally, and now, so the government shut down, you don't have any funding coming in?
Right. We're a nonprofit, so our funding is not based on what the government's going to pay us. I mean, we'll apply for grants and things like that, but we don't get specific money from the government that handles runs our operation, let's say. So we're okay there. The problem we have is we have those partnerships like with USDA distribution. So way back earlier in the big, beautiful bill, a part of that was to reduce the cost of USDA. So when that happened, those meals that I was talking about, that food that I was talking about that we were trying to capture through USDA was eliminated or reduced. So how that affects us, this year, that's going to affect us by about 9 million meals.
Wow.
So before this government shutdown, we were struggling as an organization to determine how are we going to make up those 9 million meals, how we're going to do it, and making sure that those meals are distributed equitably.
Right.
So how do we get our meal, how do we get that food to the western part of Vermilion Parish, very rural area? And how do we make sure that those people have the same opportunity as the people right next to our pantries or right next to our warehouses? Those are equitable distributions that we work on. But now with that USDA reduction, how do we get the food? How are we making that line up? Remember, 24% of our total feed allotment comes from those USDA products. So when you reduce that, how is that going to affect people? That's what we've been working on. Now, on top of that, in October and now into November, the government just shut down. So now what's going to happen with SNAP? So as we saw on November 1st, SNAP was reduced. And, thank the governor for doing what he did and offering that $150 million. But that's a 5-day gap that he's filling. What's going to happen after that? So hopefully it'll continue to flow. I don't know, but Also, it was for the most needy. So households with children, households with elderly, households with somebody with disability. That's what it covered. But if you're working and you're using a SNAP card to help you fight that food insecurity like we talked about earlier, you're not getting SNAP right now. So anyway, when the government shuts down, there are unintentional consequences to that we're seeing kind of bubble up right now.
Right.
What Second Harvest is doing is working on many, many contingency plans, how we're going to address this. We're treating it as a disaster. How we're going to address this as this progresses. So if it opens up, that's great. If it doesn't, how we're going to affect next week, how we're going to affect food insecurity the following week. What are the variables that's going to then come to us that's going to cause stopgaps, meaning we're not going to get that supply line, that supply chain is going to be disrupted. And of food supply, then what are we going to do? So we're planning those out, but it's...
I see food drives happening right now. Oh, our friends at Bonvie Macarons, they have a food drive.
From a consumer standpoint, like obviously I don't have the ability to fund, millions or billions of dollars, but as just a part of the community, what can we do to volunteer, to donate? Like, what are the things that we can do as a community?
Absolutely. What Second Harvest does, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, we don't do nothing without partnerships. And the best way I can say for somebody to say, yes, I can do something, this is what I can do, is become a partner with Second Harvest. And what does that mean? It's simple. Just go to no-hunger.org. That's no-hunger.org. If you want to volunteer, every pound we distribute this year is going to be touched by a volunteer hour.
Okay.
If we had to pay for all the volunteer hours that we receive from the community, it would be in the millions of dollars in payroll. You're so used to talking about it, but definitely if you have an hour or two a week or a month or every other month and you can volunteer your time and come by the food bank. We're repacking for seniors. We're repacking for kids. We're repacking for emergency response. We're always doing something. Repacking sweet potatoes, cabbage, potato, always doing something in the repack area. It's a great opportunity. It gives you a chance to get out, but it gives you a chance to help people. So volunteer your time. If you say, well, look, I'm just going to go pick up a couple of groceries and I'll drop them off, great. You can do that. I'm going to join a food drive. There are food drive kits at no-hunger.org. It will show you how to do that.
Okay.
Just no-hunger.org. If you decide, you know what, I can do $5, I can do $20, or I can do whatever that money is, go to no-hunger.org and you can contribute. So it's just getting involved, taking the time, like we talked about the grocery stores or other nonprofits saying, wait a minute, I could do something about this, and this is how I can do it. You can find ways, again, at no-hunger.org.
Your time, you can actually purchase food and donate food, or you can just, if lowest thing, just give money.
For every dollar we collect, a little bit over 94% or 94 cents of that dollar goes to the actual mission of distributing food into local communities. And all of your money will stay right here in Acadia.
Well, before we let you go, we ask all of our guests one very important question. It's a play on our name. What does living vividly mean to you?
What I would think living vividly means is living with intention. So if you're intentional about what you're doing every day, waking up, doing this, if you're intentional about your family, if you're intentional about your own development, if you're intentional about helping your community, or if you're intentional about your hobbies or anything that brings joy to you or other people, whatever that is, if you're intentional about it, I think that's what living vividly means.
Thanks for listening to Living Vividly. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. For more resources and details from today's discussion, check out the show notes. Until next time, keep living vividly.